The KRG is ready to play cards it has never played before, including withdrawing support from Maliki's government. Massoud Barzani, President, Kurdistan Regional Government.
Welcome back to Inside Iraq. We are discussing the rising military tension between the KRG and Baghdad with Dindar Zibari, Saad Naji Jawad, and Brian Katelis. Brian Katelis, is this some sort of a negotiation tactics? Is this a poker game? People are asking for the maximum, then they will accept the minimum. And since the military tension is boiling over the past several weeks, what will happen if conflict is to break out between these two competing forces? What will the Americans do?
Well, first, yes, I think this is part of the complex negotiations of trying to settle the status of these disputed territories. Second, on what the U.S. would do, just 3 quick points. First, there's no good military option. It would be pure madness for the U.S. military to try to get in between these partners, and I don't think they're likely to do this. These two different partners of the U.S., we're not going to get there. We may send mediators, but we don't have the troops, and frankly, the U.S. policy is in a mode of redeploying and drawing down our presence. Second, this places the emphasis on the need for a political solution. The United Nations has laid out and is about to lay out some sort of proposals. I'm not certain how acceptable these are to the different Iraqi parties, but these need to be negotiated. And third, and this is a point of analysis, I think one reason why we're seeing this is, frankly, we see a central government that is much more assertive than it was a year or so ago. And this is a consequence of the surge and of the U.S. support. We've got a Shiite-dominated central government, which in a sense has been trying to assert its positions throughout Iraq, and the KRG is responding. And frankly, I don't see any good military solution from a U.S. standpoint. You may see some conflict between the Kurdish forces and the Iraqi army, but ultimately how this ends is a negotiated political solution, perhaps with some violence.
Saad, the genesis of the current problem dates back to 1991 when the Americans, they established the no-fly zone back in 1991. Can things be rolled back to that era for the Baghdad and Erbil to have some sort of understanding about where the demarcation lines is?
Well, unless they understand their position and the country situation and go to negotiation and find a political solution, I think nothing will change from the situation in 1991 and the tension will rise. The problem is everybody thinks, or the Kurdish political parties think that they have the power now to force the central government to get whatever they want from them now. And if not, they will make or topple the government, as Mr. Barzani said. And now, as your friend, your guest from the States said, the Iraqi government, the central government is trying to assert its position. The problem is nobody is ready to accept the other point of view. And the thing is that the quarrel over Kirkuk is progressing, and the government of the federal government of Kurdistan is trying to squeeze, to bend the arm of the Iraqi government in order to let them have what they want in Kirkuk by forcing their way in other areas. This is not a solution. We're going back to the 90s and 80s where everybody is adamant about his point of view, but unfortunately, I should say, in the past time it was the Iraqi government, central government, who was not accepting the Kurdish point of view. This time is the Kurdish point of view which is not accepting the central government.
Earlier, Saad, you asked a very important key question. Let me repeat it back to Dindar. He said, if the Peshmerga claims that they are part of the Iraqi Defense Ministry, part of the Iraqi troops, and if that ministry gives an order for the troops to withdraw, why aren't they obliging it? Why they aren't responding to the military order? Dindar.
You see, my friends, it's very easy to make statements. It's very easy to comment on all different of these details. The reality and the situation on the ground is different from the theoretical background from outside the country. Today, Iraq has a constitution. This constitution, I just want to make it clear for my friend, Saad, this constitution has not been a gift to Kurds. This constitution has been voted by the Iraqis. More than 9 million Iraqis have voted for this constitution. And it's not a gift by Prime Minister Maliki to the Kurds. Second, the situation that the Kurds are already trying to achieve.
Sorry, sir, I didn't say it was a gift.
Go ahead, Saad.
I didn't say it was a gift. I fully support the Kurdish point of view and the Kurdish rights, but I do not support the way the things are being exaggerated
If I may please continue. The Kurdish or the KRG authorities are not playing any cards against anyone in Iraq. We have been with this process from the start. The first leaders who have arrived Baghdad for the liberation of the country and to join
I don't have time, Dindar, to discuss all that, what everybody did, okay, but let me ask you something. Hold on just a second. The Iraqi government, hold on just a second. The Iraqi government asked the Peshmerga to leave some of the government buildings that they have occupied. These are buildings that belong to the Iraqi government. Not only they have raised the Kurdistan flag, but they are absolutely refusing to leave these government buildings.
My friend, let me respond to you, please. It's in Iraq. There is not only Peshmerga or KRG that are occupying occupying buildings of public in Iraq. There are other militias. There are political parties from south to the north. For your information, KRG has not occupied any buildings of the Iraqi authorities in these areas. These were because of the transitional period, because of the not clearness from the two authorities, because of not having a mechanism of coordination, because the Baghdad has not implemented 140, because the Baghdad is not yet serious about
Thank you, Dindar. I'm running out of time. Let me engage Brian. Brian, from your vantage point of view in the United States and knowing that the military is going to be withdrawn pretty soon next year, whether it's McCain or it's going to be Obama, most of the American forces, which are some of the disputed area, it is going to leave those two rivals face to face.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's essentially the question for the United States is this in our strategic interest to actually try to stay there and referee some of these disputes? And frankly, I think our Iraqi friends are adults. They can actually settle these things peacefully, and in part because they're going to have to. The U.S. military has no good option in these kinds of conflicts, and I don't see any U.S. ground troops getting between these two potential combatants. So this is why it's so necessary to de-escalate these tensions and try to find a peaceful political solution to power sharing in Iraq. And this is a complicated issue. We're not going to get a solution tomorrow, but it's going to require a lot of work, and it's not simply a security solution, it's a political solution that's needed.
My final question to Saad Naji Jawad. The revision of the Constitution is months, if not years away, and there are no signs whatsoever it's going to happen. Meanwhile, do you see some sort of a political solution among the political leaders in Baghdad between Al-Maliki, Massoud Barzani, Abdulaziz Al-Hakim to defuse this ticking bomb right now?
Well, nobody is trying to defuse this bomb. All these solutions are very temporary. I just wanted to say to Mr. Zibari, once he compared himself to the militias and says that everybody is occupying lands, why don't you set the example and leave the government buildings? Why do you follow the examples of other militias when you're speaking of a concrete army and a concrete state? Now, this is the problem here. It's like before, when you tell the people now, the occupiers, that you have killed 1 million people, they would tell you Saddam killed 2 million. This is the comparison they are putting to us. The problem is nobody is thinking seriously about the future of Iraq and about the future of the country. The 140 clause is not a sacred clause. It's not something that could be implemented now. It only says that there should be a referendum. If referendum does not take place, there is nothing in the 140. The Constitution is refused by the majority of the Iraqi people.
Dindar Zibari, coordinator for the United Nations, Brian Katalis from the Center for American Progress, Saad Naji Jawad, author and political analyst. Gentlemen, thank you for being guests on Inside Iraq. To access the show and to send us your comments, please go to aljazeera.net/English. That's all the time we have for this week. Join me next week when we take another look inside Iraq. Until then, goodbye.